What is going on, Fit Fam? Welcome on back to my channel. My name is Megan Janice, the founder of Nomadic Fitness, and I teach you ladies how to eat way more food without any restrictions and work out smarter instead of harder so you can build that banging hourglass body, feel amazing in it, and stay this way year-round for life. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. And if you're coming on back, thanks so much for joining for another video. In today's video, we're gonna be talking about one of my favorite things, and that is how to grow your glutes, how to get that poppin' bubble butt, how to make your peach pop. So I recently went through my own epic glute growth journey. You can see here over the last year, I really grew my glutes a ton. And especially in these last 7 months, I did my very first ever bulk where I intentionally tried to eat a huge amount of calories, eat in a surplus. So eating a little bit more than the amount that I was burning in order to really be able to be in a gaining stage and put on some muscle mass. And I did just that. You can really see in these photos that I had a lot of glute growth. So I'm going to be sharing with you today the 5 things that you need to do to see that booty pop. And I promise you, if you implement these steps, it is not going to be long before you have your very own round, beautiful bubble butt. So let's get into what those 5 things are here. Okay, the first part of building your glutes, and this is arguably the most important part, is you need to eat. You need to eat a lot, because think about it. What are your glutes? They are a muscle. In fact, the gluteus maximus, which is the main muscle on the butt, that kind of bubble butt muscle, is the biggest muscle in your entire body. So if you want a muscle to grow, you have to give it the resources to grow with. And this is just where so many women are going wrong, including me for a very long time. Now, when I look back at my photos from a year ago, I'm like, damn, I was a really skinny little petite thing. And it's not that I didn't look good. I still looked lean. I still had a lot of muscle definition, but I definitely did not have the size and shape on my glutes and legs like I do now. And that's because I still never let myself eat just as much as you really need to be eating to see muscle growth happen. So when I say you need to eat a lot, obviously there's a strategy to it. You need to eat according to your macros. Macros being your protein, fats, and carbs. So yes, you definitely need to make sure you're getting enough protein. It should be somewhere around 1 gram per pound of body weight. And yes, you still need to be getting in your fats, which should take up about 25 to 30% of what your total calorie intake is. But the one that you really need to be eating alongside the protein, which is a given, we know we need protein to build muscle, but the one you need to eat an obscene amount of is carbs. And that is because carbs are the fuel for your training, and you need to be able to train hard and very focused and really target your muscle. And it's the carbs that are going to fuel that performance. And then also because the carbs are the things that fill up your muscle. So when you're getting that nice round pop and booty, it's full of carbohydrate stores. So that is what makes it look like that. So honestly, in order to build your glutes, you're probably gonna have to eat way more food than you've ever eaten in your life. It's going to feel like an insane amount. You're gonna think like there's no way you can even eat this much, but trust me, that is when you're gonna see the glutes grow. So obviously this has to be individual to you. I cannot say this is the number you should eat because it completely depends on your body and what your body is adapted to right now. So I have a very in-depth video here where I walk you through exactly how to figure out how much you specifically should be eating for your body, your goals, and then especially how to continually adjust it depending on how your body is responding and just the progress that you're making and how to get closer and closer to your goal. So make sure to check that video out. But as a kind of general rule of thumb, I'd say that as an absolute minimum, you're gonna need to eat at least 2,000 calories a day to even start seeing some momentum. But the vast majority of women are still gonna need to eat a lot more than that. Most women are probably gonna need to be in the 2,500, 2,600 calorie range, something like that. But if you are somebody who is very petite already and you know that you have a fast metabolism, then you might have to eat even over 3,000 calories a day. So it's really going to depend on your body, your genetics, how it's responding. So obviously you're going to have to keep an eye on all of this, and you're going to have to adjust as you go through the process of building glutes. So make sure you're eating, especially piling on those carbs, and trust me, you're going to see some booty growth. Okay, the second step to popping your booty and seeing it grow very nicely is you need to train the right way body. And specifically what I mean by that is you need to be doing your compound movements and still making sure that you are doing isolation exercises as well. So your compound movements, what that means is an exercise that uses multiple muscle groups in one single motion. So obviously the big examples of this are your squats, your deadlifts, and your hip thrusts. Those are the ones for the lower body, of course. And all three of those you should definitely have in your plan to some degree, and it's definitely going to help you build your glutes. Obviously, especially hip thrust. Hip thrust is the queen of booty building, and it's probably going to be the main thing that really helps you to grow your glutes. But don't neglect your isolations. You also want to give them some high rep love and attention where you're not hitting the other muscles of your body. So the best exercises I find from both categories to really grow the glutes is, of course, yes, hip thrusts, and there's different variations you can do. My favorite variations would be tempo hip thrusts, and this is where you thrust up to the top, squeeze and hold for 2 seconds, and then descend really slowly for 3 seconds. And the reason that that is so powerful is because you don't necessarily need to use a ton of weight, but more so you're really focusing on the muscle-mind connection and overloading the glute muscles in particular with a lot of time under tension, because you're taking more time in the contracted position, really squeezing and overloading the glutes and just kind of torturing them for a more extended period of time. So that's how you're really going to tear those muscle fibers, and then you're going to eat a lot of carbs so that they're going to grow back bigger and stronger than they were before. And then of course I also love conventional deadlifts, especially for growing glutes. Not only is this an amazing exercise for literally your entire body, but it really works your legs and glutes very nicely. So I highly recommend having deadlifts in your workout plan. And then for squats, really kind of any variation is great. Of course, just traditional barbell back squats. I would recommend going nice, low and slow on them so that, again, you're going to get more time under tension on the glutes. But I also really love a sumo squat with a heavy dumbbell, or even Smith machine squats are pretty great at isolating the glutes because you can really control the range of motion and get nice and low. Then my favorite exercises from the isolations category would be abductions. So definitely you're going to need to go to a gym that has that piece of equipment, but it is so worth it because especially this is an exercise that's going to hit the outer glutes, so the glute medius and minimus, which are the much smaller glute muscles that kind of round out the bubble butt, which is very important. So doing abductions, I like to do them a little bit leaning over and then squeezing and holding for a little bit at the top. Another favorite is reverse 45-degree hypers. Most gyms have this contraption. If yours doesn't though, you can do these just on a regular squat rack or on the Smith machine. You would just put the barbell pad there and then go up and down like that. I've had to do that in the past. And again, that's another really great, super targeted, high rep burnout exercise. And then of course we also have cable kickbacks. So there's so many variations of cable kickbacks that you can do. One of my favorites is actually doing it with a bench, kneeling over right next to the cable machine, because I feel like you're able to kick back really far for those. So you just get that extra range of motion. And I notice that my glutes are just popping after I do that variation. But I also like a good glute medius kickback where you're kicking out a little bit to like a 30-45-degree angle. That one also hits kind of the outer butt that I'm talking about. So make sure to have a variation of compounds and isolations in your workout program. And actually, I recommend that you do a method called the pre-exhaust method, which is where you actually start off your workout with 1 or maybe 2 isolation exercises, and then you go into the heavier, more difficult compound movements. And the reason why this is so effective is because if you start off with the higher rep, easier exercises, by the time you get to the compound exercises, which are more challenging and obviously using a lot more weight, the muscles you're trying to target are already going to be very engaged, very activated. So you're actually going to get way more out of it. This is the way I've been training for about the last 6-7 months, and I have really enjoyed it. I definitely didn't ever used to train like this. I used to think you had to do your compounds before doing your isolations, but I've been pleasantly surprised to find that this is a very effective method. Okay, the third step to growing that beautiful bubble butt goes hand in hand with what I was just talking about. It applies to your training, and that is to make sure you are using progressive overload. So make sure you are recording your workouts, you're writing it down in a notes app on your phone, exactly the reps you do, exactly how much weight to use, and then every single week you want to try to improve even just a little bit. You want to make sure that you are actually progressing. So whether that means you're doing more total reps, you're actually controlling the range of motion better, which is what I recommend that you focus on. Control how you move the weight, try to slow it down, try to make those lighter weights feel like they're heavy, and trust me, you're really going to feel the overload in your muscles a lot more than just if you're going up in weight without really focusing on the muscle-mind connection. And try to add in the types of things that I'm talking about, like maybe adding in a pause at the bottom, descending really slowly, so increasing the time under tension. And then of course, make sure that you are repeating the same workouts for at least 6 to 8 weeks at a time. And the reason why is because obviously you can't know that you are progressing progressing at a lift if you're only doing it for like 2-3 weeks. You need to give yourself a bit of time to get really comfortable with the form, really execute well, work on that range of motion, that muscle-mind connection, and then slowly but surely make sure you're adding a little bit more weight or a little bit more reps bit by bit over time, and then you'll know that you're actually doing some progressive overload, and because of that, you're gonna see some muscle gain with it. Okay, and then the fourth step to growing a beautiful bubble butt is making sure that you also give yourself a lot of time to rest those poor little glutes. So this means do not go and train glutes 6 days a week. That is way too much. Your body needs time to rest and recover so that the muscle can actually grow. Now trust me, I used to be somebody who would train glutes and legs a lot, so I get it. I get that you're enthusiastic and you're like, but I just really want it. I really enjoy training legs and glutes, so I want to do it frequently. But the thing is, if you are going in and you're always beating up that muscle, then you're not getting that much out of your actual workouts, because number one, your body's going to be kind of tired. You're not going to be able to give as much energy and as much strength to the workouts, which means that you're not going to be overloading as well as you could. And then also you're just hitting it too often that it doesn't really have enough time to recover for those little microscopic tears that happen in the workout to heal over before you go and tear them again. So actually for a long time, like pretty much the vast majority of my fitness journey, I trained 5 days a week, 2 upper bodies and then 3 lower bodies. And only recently my coach brought me down to just 4 days a week, 2 lowers and 2 uppers. And at first I was like really shook about this because I was like, I've literally been training lower body 3 times a week. I've been doing 5 days a week, total training for so many years. Who even am I if I'm not training 5 days a week? But I gotta tell you, I love it. I love having that extra day to rest, to just be able to do things that don't involve going to the gym. And honestly, I feel so much better when I do show up for my workout. I have way more energy. I'm able to perform way better and progress way more. And even my coach, who literally is goals, that's why I hired her. She has amazing glutes, amazing physique overall. She too only trains 4 days a week, 2 lowers, 2 uppers. So when it comes to training, it really is less is more. You don't have to train so long, so hard. When you do show up for your training, give it your full effort, your full focus, really go hard in the sets themselves. But then outside of that, let your body rest and recover, because it really should be that you need that time to recover because you went so hard in the session itself. Okay, and then the 5th and final step to growing your beautiful bubble butt is to give it lots of time, be very consistent, and be patient. And I know this is the one that is always like, yeah, when you hear it, but it is important, and we do have to remember that obviously really building some serious muscle takes time. It's not gonna happen in just a couple of weeks. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're really implementing everything I'm talking about here, if you're really hitting your macros, you're really pushing yourself hard in the gym, and also letting yourself recover well, you definitely should start to see some pretty great glute progress. Even within a month, 2 months, you are gonna be noticing it. However, you gotta stay really consistent over a period of time. And you wanna get more into the mindset of thinking more years rather than definitely not weeks and not even months, because the difference in 1 year that you can see is pretty dramatic, as you can see in my photos here. I grew a lot over the last year. And again, I'm so shocked now when I see my photos from a year ago, because I'm like, I looked so skinny, so small back then, and now I have a way more shape because I was doing everything that I'm talking about in this video. So try to get into that mindset of just falling in love with the journey, falling in love with showing up for yourself, having fun in the gym, having fun with fueling up and eating so much great food, and stay consistent with that for an extended period of time. Think of it 1 year, 2 years, even more. And of course, you're gonna be seeing results before then, but just know that the results keep compounding, keep stacking up on top of each other. So have fun, be patient, enjoy the ride, and it's not gonna be long before you too have so much glute growth that you're so ecstatic to see. All right, Fit Fam, thanks so much for joining for this video. I hope it was helpful for you. So next, I want you to go watch this video here where I'm gonna walk you through my glute growth journey, the entire story behind it, what was really good about it, what was hard about it, and my top tips and takeaways so that you too can have amazing results in your own glute and leg growth journey. I'll see you in that video.